all that immigration that's happening between 1877 and 1898 is causing some issues. So let's look at the responses to immigration during that industrialization time period. Now, immigrants were coming in. They were coming in, again, we talked about old and new, the Northern Europeans in the old, the Southern and Eastern Europeans in the new, and they were trying to find their way to fit into the American society. There were Americans who responded that way, not always to the positive. The first response we are going to look at is the rise of nativism. The idea of nativism were about the Americans that were already in the States at that time did not like all the immigrants coming in. They felt they were taking their jobs and opportunities away for those who have already put in their time here. And nativism was not a good thing. However, it is a continuity. When we talk about immigration in the United States, even up to today, that is a continuity that continues to stay in place. Now, during this time, it was really aimed at, as an example, the Irish and the anti-Catholic movement. Labor unions did not like immigrants because they felt it was hurting wages to their people that were already existing working at these factories. But another result of immigration during this time period was also the idea of social Darwinism. Along with the nativism, it was the idea that the people that were here, the white European descendants, were a finer quality of person than the new immigrants that were coming in. And based on Darwin's idea of only the strongest survive, they didn't want the immigrants to dilute the greatness of the Americans that were already there. Immigrants coming from Europe were coming through in the East Coast, places like Boston and New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, etc. An example of that would be Ellis Island in New York, and that's one you want to remember. But what about the Asians that were coming in through immigration process? That one you want to remember, it's Angel Island in the San Francisco area. Most of the Asians that were coming in were Chinese, and it started really in the 1840s and 1850s due to the gold rush. Chinese immigration coming through the West Coast, it started in the 1840s and 1850s due to the gold rush, and then the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. But over time, there was resentment that came, especially when there's a financial panic that happened in the 1870s. After the panic of 1872, because the Chinese were willing to work for such low wages, this was causing a lot of angst. So there were groups, especially in California, where a lot of the Chinese settled. They began to attack and really discriminate against the Chinese. Eventually, the government would catch up, and the first time an act was put through to stop a country of origin, and that's the Chinese Exclusion Act. However, one of the other things that came out on a little bit of the positive side would be settlement houses. Settlement houses, the example you want to use is Jane Addams and the Hull House, which was in Chicago, was to help immigrants assimilate into society. They would teach them English, talk to them about democratic ideals, teach them how to become more Americanized over time to fit into society. Now, another result that was not so good were the ideas of political machines. Political machines like Tammany Hall would take immigrants, they would help get them employment, but on the other side, they were always looking at, they needed them to vote to keep the corruption up. So these are some of the responses that occurred with immigration in the United States between 1877 and 1898. And now you know your freaking history. Peace.